Now, some of you may or may not realize how powerful you are, but you naturally have the ability to tap into different frequencies.
Yeah. You're a legend in your own mind.
Hey everyone, JL here, and welcome back to Bridge the Divide, where I examine irrational beliefs, the irrational behaviors that follow, and how we, with education, rationality, and reason, can bridge the societal divides that they create. Recently, I've spent so much time on this channel covering theist arguments and irrational beliefs and irrational behaviors that I haven't gotten to cover as much woo as I would like to. And while woo is usually harmless, leading only to minor things like feng shui, tantric sex, vagina candles, and goat yoga, some woo is derived from wholesale scientific illiteracy and deception, and can often lead to antisocial tendencies and dangerous and sometimes destructive behavior. So thanks to the Venus human trap that is the platform TikTok, I came across this guy, Marco Nopolo, who also runs the YouTube channel, The Ascended One. He is, without a doubt, the guy with all the woo, and I wouldn't be surprised if this video he made for TikTok set some kind of woo per minute record. So get your shovels and breathing apparatus ready, because this rabbit hole goes deep.
Did you know we all have psychic abilities, but they're purposely suppressed?
So here's the first big problem with Marco's claim. Everyone has psychic abilities, and those abilities are being purposely suppressed. Now, for something to be purposely suppressed entails a couple of things. First, that the person, or someone external to them, has awareness of what needs to be suppressed. And second, that a conscious effort is being made to suppress that thing. So in regards to Marco's claim, either I am consciously suppressing my own ability, or someone else external to me is suppressing my abilities. However, before I watched this video, I had no idea that I had psychic powers. And since I cannot purposely suppress something that I have no knowledge of possessing, this means Marco is claiming that our collective psychic abilities are being suppressed by an external source without our knowledge of it. This, of course, raises two very important questions. One, who exactly is this nefarious power suppressing the combined psychic abilities of all humankind? And two, if we actually have psychic abilities and they're deliberately being suppressed without our knowledge, then how do we actually know if we have psychic abilities?
Take telepathy, for example.
Originally coined in 1882 by Frederick W. H. Myers, founder of the Society for Psychical Research, telepathy was initially called thought transference. Telepathy is defined as the purported vicarious transmission of information from one person's mind to another without using any known human sensory channels or physical interaction. And since humans began rigorous studies of it, there's never been a successful display of telepathy under any circumstances. And every claim of telepathy has been debunked once examined under controlled conditions. So I'm very curious where Marco is going with this claim that everyone supposedly has the power of telepathy.
When you truly love someone, you can connect to them on a telepathic level, because you two are on the same frequency.
So first, Marco claims that the telepathic powers of human beings are being purposely suppressed, and then claims that people in love have demonstrable telepathic ability, which would mean that their powers are not being suppressed. Which is it, Marco? But that contradiction aside, let's examine Marco's long-debunked claim. The observation of predictive behavior in coupled individuals is something that has been studied for decades. There are subfields of psychology, psychiatry, and neuroscience that are dedicated to the understanding of how coupled individuals' brains work. And there are a number of well-understood reasons why couples appear to be so in sync with one another, and all without saying a single word.
And don't underestimate the importance of body language.
The first is basic pattern awareness. The brain is a pattern-seeking organ. It looks for patterns in anything around it. And human behavior is packed with patterned responses to various stimuli. The longer you spend with a person, the more your brain picks up on the patterned, nuanced responses of your partner. Mirror neurons, brain cells that react when a particular action is performed or when that action is only observed, play a major role in this. Because mirror neurons provide a direct internal experience of another person's actions or emotions, they allow us to connect perceived emotional states to particular actions. And the longer you spend with an individual, as the years go by, your brain subtly picks up and remembers all of those nuanced patterns. So no, it's not telepathy, it's basic nonverbal communication. And just like any language, with time and repetition, we get really, really good at it. And the number one way claims of this nature have been debunked in the past has been to separate the individuals. Because when there's no nonverbal communication to observe, there's no information to receive. But I'm still curious as to who Marco thinks is suppressing this now understood to be non-existent power.
Some people are extremely gifted with their psychic abilities, hence why the government recruits them.
There has never been a demonstration of actual psychic ability in the history of studying psychic claims. And the CIA's Project Stargate, declassified in 1995, reported that there was nothing credible about any of the claims, any information gathered was no different than random selection, and that it provided no use in any intelligence operation. Fun fact, Lieutenant Frederick Skip Atwater, who oversaw Project Stargate, later became the president of the Monroe Institute. The Monroe Institute, which is dedicated to studying human consciousness, was founded by Robert Allen Monroe, whose book, Journeys Out of the Body, popularized the term out-of-body experience. But Marco here still doesn't seem to realize that he's directly contradicting himself. If psychic powers are purposely being suppressed by some as-yet-to-be-named nefarious agency, then how would we ever know if people actually have psychic powers? And why, given that there are people demonstrably in love all over the planet, are none of them coming forward to claim that they share this telepathic bond?
Y'all think Stranger Things was fake?
It is. It's a popular sci-fi horror coming-of-age drama series available on Netflix. Hashtag Justice for Barb, hashtag Eddie Munson Cult.
No, it's based off the Montauk Project where the government was kidnapping psychic kids.
Ah, the Montauk Project. Leave it to a woo believer to appeal to a long-debunked conspiracy theory. For those unfamiliar, the Montauk Project is a conspiracy theory that alleges that there were a series of U.S. government-led paranormal projects conducted at Camp Hero and Montauk Air Force Station in Montauk, New York. Many of you, however, may associate Montauk with the Montauk Monster story. And despite a number of conspiracy theories espoused by the likes of Jesse Ventura, the Montauk Monster was forensically identified by paleozoologist Darren Naish as the water-degraded corpse of a raccoon. Now, at Montauk Air Force Station, the supposed purpose of these projects was the development of psychological warfare techniques and exotic research such as time travel. The problem with all of this, however, lies in the source of the conspiracy theory. This is Preston Nichols. Nichols and his co-author Peter Moon wrote a series of books that centered around what they called the Montauk Project. The narrative of the book series presents the Montauk Project as a clandestine continuation of the Philadelphia experiment, another long-debunked conspiracy theory surrounding the USS Eldridge. The series also ties together other well-known conspiracies, including but not limited to the moon landing hoax, Project Paperclip, contact with extraterrestrials, interdimensional travel, mass abductions of the homeless, the invention of the internet, flying saucers, Nazi gold, super soldiers and metahumans, black helicopters, the Men in Black, the engineering of the AIDS virus, subliminal messaging, and the faking of the death of Nikola Tesla, who was supposedly the chief director of operations at the base. The series also depicts events in which its protagonists use time travel to alter history, including visits to Jesus Christ, the American Civil War, and World War II. And the Duffer Brothers, creators of Stranger Things, have long cited the Montauk books, the conspiracy theory that surrounds them, and to a lesser extent Project MKUltra as inspiration for their show. They even sold the project to Netflix under the working title Montauk. So this isn't just one or two conspiracies, it's all the conspiracies. And thus far, nothing purported in the Montauk book series has been deemed credible by anyone. Not even the authors themselves. which is why they're classified as science fiction.
The CIA once recruited remote viewers who had the ability to see in the future through astral projection.
The CIA did in fact conduct experiments centered around remote viewing and astral projection back in the 70s. However, it was later revealed by an NSA investigation report that the CIA's experiments yielded not only no positive demonstrations of psychic ability, but also that any evidence they produced was completely fabricated and without merit. It was also posited by the NSA that the entire thing was concocted in an effort to divert funding to other less popular projects. The NSA referred to the entire incident as the astral projection caper.
We all have this ability, they just don't want you to tap into it.
Ah, the nefarious and ominous they. Let's see if Marco actually has the goods on who they are.
They overly diagnose medications to suppress the gifted. They also put fluoride in the everyday stuff that we consume.
Yep, the fluoride conspiracy is here too.
Fluoride calcifies the pineal gland, preventing it from truly working.
So this double-headed conspiracy theory actually has some pretty long roots, going all the way back to René Descartes in the 17th century, and his widely discredited opinion that the pineal gland was the source of the human soul. The pineal gland is a small endocrine gland located in the brain of most vertebrates. It plays a small role in pituitary gland secretions and, in very specific circumstances, can produce tiny amounts of the hallucinogen known as DMT. However, its primary function is to produce melatonin, which is a serotonin-derived hormone which modulates sleep patterns in circadian and seasonal cycles. The gland is able to do this because it possesses light-sensitive cells. Think of them sort of like an atrophied photoreceptor. The production of melatonin is inhibited when the gland is exposed to the light coming through your eyes, and it is facilitated when immersed in darkness, thus helping you to fall asleep and maintain your circadian rhythm. Esoterics often refer to the pineal gland as the third eye, and this is because of its natural functions, its location in the brain nestled between the hemispheres, and of course its evolutionary connection to what we call the parietal eye. The parietal eye is a part of the epithalamus present in some vertebrates, typically amphibians, some reptiles, some bony fish, sharks, and lampreys. However, it is absent in mammals, and that is because one of the major functions of the parietal eye is in thermoregulation. Thermoregulation is exceedingly important in species that are ectothermic, but mammals are endothermic, and so the parietal eye was lost over time because it was rendered useless by our evolution. And all that remains of this system in human beings is the pineal gland, a pine cone-shaped gland slightly larger than a grain of rice. But the natural production of minuscule amounts of DMT and the natural photoreceptive capabilities of the gland have led many esoterics to make huge, wildly grandiose claims regarding it, none of which have been demonstrated to have any merit. Now, as for the calcification, yes, the pineal gland does calcify over time, and it is the part of the brain that accumulates the most calcium. This is because of where the gland sits in the brain, its vascularity, or how much blood it receives, its immersion in cerebral spinal fluid, or CSF, and its lack of protection by the blood-brain barrier. However, it has been discovered that the fluoridation of water has no link to the calcification of the pineal gland, because the small amounts of fluoride that are taken in via unfiltered tap water are filtered out by the kidneys before they ever reach the brain. So if it's not fluoride, what actually causes the calcification of the pineal gland? The pineal gland actually calcifies naturally at its own rate, depending on metabolism, age, and a number of varying health factors. We know this because melatonin itself, the hormone that the pineal gland produces, also causes the activation of bone-creating cells within the pineal gland, which results in its natural calcification over time. So how exactly do these esoterics connect the fluoride conspiracy to the non-existent abilities of the pineal gland? They connect these two because the calcium that naturally accumulates in the pineal gland is in the form of hydroxyapatite, the same crystal that is found in the dentin and enamel of the teeth.
Your pineal gland is your third eye, your gateway to your higher self.
I couldn't even begin to imagine how one would even determine what a higher self actually is, let alone test for its existence, or its relationship to a tiny endocrine gland in the brain. Once again, grandiose and meritless claims predicated by profound ignorance and wishful thinking.
It produces DMT, the body's natural psychedelic.
Yes, but the pineal gland produces DMT in extremely tiny, nearly undetectable amounts, and only in very specific circumstances. While the esoteric thought is that it is produced at birth, during dreaming, and at near death, the evidence is not consistent with these ideas. Essentially, esoterics are just connecting the well-understood hallucinatory effects of pharmaceutical-grade DMT with out-of-body and religious sensory experiences, and ascribing greater meaning to them than they actually have. It's a form of hindsight bias created by their pre-existing beliefs in things such as gods, souls, and afterlives.
What's interesting is DMT is a Schedule I controlled substance.
Of course it is. DMT is a tryptamine drug that in high doses is an extremely powerful psychedelic, the physiological and psychological effects of which are unpredictable and vary widely from user to user. Because unregulated people under the effects of a powerful psychoactive chemical can become an extreme danger to both themselves and to others, DMT is classified as a Schedule I controlled substance, the same as LSD and MDMA.
Why would something your body naturally produces be illegal?
1, because psychoactives can be extremely psychologically addictive, and 2, because the human body doesn't produce DMT in the same quantities used by recreational drug users. If it did, we would have extreme psychedelic experiences every time it was produced by the brain. To induce any psychedelic effects usually requires about 20 milligrams of DMT. The pineal gland produces such a tiny amount, usually around 30 micrograms, that its effects are considered negligible. But dependent upon how DMT is used recreationally, a person can consume anywhere between 40 and 100 milligrams of it. This is why it is illegal.
You start messing with that spacey shit and you really bring out some sick bitches. They all want to pretend they're robots. Last thing I need is horny robots running around tripping over shit.
Droids. They call them droids.
Whatever.
Just like other psychedelics that contain psilocybin and DMT.
Yes, peyote, ayahuasca, and psilocybin are Schedule I drugs because their unpredictable side effects can make people both a danger to themselves and to others.
Psychedelics are a gateway to expand your...
And while Marco never took the opportunity to tell us exactly who or what they are, maybe it was them who cut him off right there at the end. That, or he's just as bad at editing as he is script writing. As for Marco's obvious desire for rampant, unregulated psychedelic drug use among the populace, while the use of psychedelics can produce extreme alterations in the perceptions of oneself and the world, it must be remembered that these perceptions are temporary, and that once your body has fully metabolized the drug, your neurotransmitters begin to regulate again and things go back to normal. So, sorry to put a toll booth on your mental gateway there, Marco, but when you deceptively play to people's emotional appeals for greater self-meaning with ignorant, unfounded nonsense, you can invariably lead the less discerning viewer down ultimately unfulfilling, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerously antisocial roads. And the absolute last thing this world needs is more ignorant, antisocial people wandering around, tripping over shit, and making decisions that affect us all. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications. And be sure to leave a comment below. I love reading your responses, and those interactions help with the dreaded algorithm. Don't forget, July is HIV Awareness Month. A link on how you can support these efforts is in the description below. And if you love scary movies, be sure to check out me and my filmmaker friends over at the Week in Horror podcast, now in our 3rd season. Everything you need to become a channel member here, nab yourself some official Bridge the Divide swag, or support the podcast is in the description below. Once again, thank you all so much for your continued support. And as always, be safe, be excellent to each other, and together, we can bridge the divide.